Former congressman, currently unemployed George Santos has a lot of time on his hands now that he's been removed from Congress. So he has started a Cameo account and he made a Cameo message addressed to Senator Bob Menendez. Take a look at this.
Hey, Bobby. Look, I don't think I need to tell you, but these people that want to make you get in trouble and want to kick you out and make you run away, you make them put up or shut up. You stand your ground, sir, and don't get bogged down by all the haters out there. Stay strong. Merry Christmas.
Now, the Cameo was commissioned by fellow Senator John Fetterman. He posted this on Instagram. I thought my ethically challenged colleague, Senator Menendez, could use some encouragement given his substantial legal problems. All of you are probably familiar with the fact that John Fetterman has been one of the most vocal members of the Senate calling for Senator Menendez to resign from his position, given that, as he alluded to, him being ethically challenged, has some ongoing investigations against him. Of course, that's something he and George Santos have in common. Let's talk a little bit about what Cameo is. So I mentioned now George Santos joined Cameo, got a lot of free time. So he set up this account where users can request a personalized message from him at now $400 a pop. He was starting at $75. I guess he decided he's a hot commodity and started raising the price up higher and higher. And now we're at $400. And he's probably feeling like a hot commodity because people are sending him money to get these personalized videos. Here are a couple more videos from his Cameo account.
Thank you for the love. Thank you for the kindness. You know, Botox keeps you young. Fillers keeps you plump. Look, don't let the haters get to you. Haters are going to hate. And if you have haters, that means you're doing something right, girl. I've been alerted that Sneeko is a soy grifter and likes to be twerked on by fresh oily butt in the club. Screw the haters. The haters are going to hate. Look, they can boot me out of Congress, but they can't take away my good humor or my larger-than-life personality, nor my good faith and the absolute pride I have for everything I've done. Please spend some money on yourselves from the gift this year. It could be anything from Botox to luxury goods of any kind, like a trip to Hermes or makeup from Sephora or a subscription to OnlyFans.
Obviously, the joke of that last video is that those are things that George Santos illegally, allegedly spent his campaign contributions on. The amount of money he spent on OnlyFans has me a little bit concerned. And I'm going to be a killjoy here for a moment. Maybe I'll let you all decide. I'm going to be a killjoy. I don't think that we should be sending money to George Santos. As funny as it is to get these personalized messages, I really enjoyed the message that someone requested of him talking about misogynistic influencer Sneeko. But even if it is funny, even if it makes us, laugh momentarily, at the end of the day, you're still giving money to this massive fraud, George Santos. Incidentally, also what he's been accused of doing, fraud. But I don't think that we should be giving money to someone who's been so transphobic. I mean, just earlier this week, he had a little prop set up before he was removed. He had a little prop set up in the halls of Congress and was saying, we need to trust the science. There's only two genders. No, this is an individual who has been very vocal in his support for the massive amounts of civilian deaths happening in Gaza. I really, really don't think we should be helping this man fund his legal fees. I mean, maybe that's not what he's going to use the money for. It seems that he's not very good at handling his money or other people's money. So maybe he won't be putting this towards his legal fees. I don't know. But either way, I don't think we should be giving him money. Dina, maybe I'm just, like I said, a killjoy, but that's my opinion. What's your takeaway on the George Santos Cameo situation?
I mean, that was my first thought too, actually, about John Fetterman. The fact that he paid him to do a video kind of trying to troll Senator Menendez, I think is kind of icky. I mean, he literally gave George Santos money, and he's the most corrupt, actually, politician, at least that we know of in kind of modern history. The fact that so many Republicans were willing to vote him out in this era of republicanism says quite a bit. And, I think Senator Fetterman's kind of progressive values are being questioned quite a bit with some of the actions he's taken. And so to do this, which kind of garners more publicity for the cameos for George Santos, I think it left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't think that was, it just seemed like somebody looking for publicity himself. And at the end of the day, like, nobody should be using Congress to make money, right? And that's really clearly what George Santos did running for it. The fact that he lied about almost everything on his record, the fact that a bipartisan ethical committee in the House found so much fraud, it's very likely he is going to get convicted, if not all, on many of those counts that he's, charged with. It says quite a bit. I mean, he would take the credit card and just charge things on the credit card of one of his donors. I mean, it was blatant, very blatant actions. And then, so soon afterwards, really trying to make money off of the fact that he used his position as a candidate and then actually in office to enrich himself. He's just doing it some more. So I absolutely agree. We shouldn't be giving him any more money, any more encouragement. I mean, we need to take money out of politics, not literally start like giving them our credit card. And that's essentially what you're doing here when you're paying for the cameo.
I think you make a really excellent point, especially when it comes to Fetterman, who has found himself in hot water recently, particularly over his statements about Gaza, with progressives, with those on the left, members of his own party, even members of his own party in Congress. He's found himself in contention with. And it does feel like this was just an attempt to maybe soften his image. George Santos has been a massive joke lately. I mean, obviously, I played into it a lot. The TYT audience knows that I am obsessed with George Santos. I don't like him, but I just need to know what motivates him and these lies, because they're so nonsensical. I mean, why lie about your mom dying in 9/11 when she died in 2016? And at the time of 9/11, she was living in Brazil. Why lie about having Holocaust survivor grandparents? It just, to what end do these lies serve is a fascination that I have. But it does feel like maybe he was trying to soften his image, get some better publicity, but it totally undermines the argument he's making against Bob Menendez, who's also been accused of, violating ethics, taking bribes, committing fraud, that you would give money to someone else who's been accused of those things, and your call for Bob Menendez to resign. It just isn't helpful. Definitely feels icky to say the least. But I guess I might not be the only person who has this fascination with George Santos, because it was just announced that there is a movie in the works from HBO. So a little more on that from the Hill. HBO is reportedly set to produce a movie about Representative George Santos, who was just expelled from Congress after a damning ethics report. Trisano's book, The Fabulous, The Lying, Hustling, Grifting, Stealing, and Very American Legend of George Santos, was published last week. Former Veep and Succession producer Frank Rich and Mike Makowski, writer-producer of HBO award-winning film Bad Education, will executive produce the Santos' film project, with Trisano serving as a consulting producer per Deadline. The unnamed film, now under development, will focus on the meteoric rise of Santos, who won his state's 3rd congressional district in last November's midterm elections. And I was able to say this on the show last week. I'll say it every time I get the opportunity. I think that Veep is, as someone who's worked in politics, one of the most accurate representations of working in Washington that I've ever seen. Of course, it's a comedy show, but it cuts through, the image that has been painted of sitting down with your detractors or the opposition party and debating the issues, and kind of cuts right down to all of the dirty things that actually go on in Washington. So I would trust these individuals to make a good, honest representation of George Santos. But Dina, I guess my hesitation about a project such as this is that we lionizing someone like George Santos, who's been, accused of all of this criminal conduct, who's probably going to go to jail for a good amount of time, by creating these films. I mean, maybe a documentary might be more, meaningful and impactful to sort of, investigate why he was able to achieve such a position of power despite the, massive list of lies that was his resume, as opposed to putting it in a dramatic biopic form. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel a little bit apprehensive about this as well.
It does sound like it's going to be more of a kind of a fictional drama with them in place rather than a documentary, which, here's the thing is some people say, we had the industrial age and we're living in the entertainment age, which I think makes sense. We had a president who was on a reality TV star, and that was an asset to him. And so and content is king, right? We can't get enough entertainment in our lives. And so I do think that we are making he is entertaining. Like you said, it's like, he's very entertaining, and they're going to make an entertaining show about him. Does that give him a bigger platform? Does that allow other people to want his fame? There's so many more important subjects that don't get talked about because we focus on maybe the person who's more entertaining. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think the only kind of silver lining on this is the Justice Department, because we have found this kind of with Donald Trump. Like, he was able to say anything he wanted in political rallies, say one thing and, completely lie and say something different in another rally. And there wasn't a lot of, nobody really held him to that, right? Yes, he was impeached, but he wasn't convicted in Congress. And yes, maybe he lost the election, but then he tries to still hold on to it. And it's really only the Justice Department that we're finding is truly holding him to his actions. And I think that's going to happen with George Santos. And so although lionizing him, like you say, in a documentary may create people who want to follow him, I think his conviction will hopefully be enough to counteract that. And, when he's behind bars, it becomes a little bit less likely someone's going to want to follow in his footsteps. And I think that shows that, I really think right now in this time that we have, our Justice Department is like our saving grace. It's almost impossible to control our justice system, even though, yes, presidents appoint different judges. There are just too many across the country. They retire and come in at different times. It's too hard for any one party to control. And I think that's so good for our democracy and a real check on illegal actions that politicians might take.
Absolutely. And, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see, justice in the cases of Donald Trump and in a George Santos. And we're not going to end up in a scenario where Trump becomes president again and then George Santos is angling for a pardon. But you know what? Who knows? So we'll keep everybody updated on the chronicles of George Santos.